wearing squares and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new SQAIRZ speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my SQAIRZ, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try SQAIRZ, you'll be a believer too. Go to SQAIRZ.com. Change your shoes, change your game with SQAIRZ. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing SQAIRZ and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new SQAIRZ speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my SQAIRZ, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try SQAIRZ, you'll be a believer too. Go to SQAIRZ.com. Change your shoes, change your game with SQAIRZ. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing SQAIRZ and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new SQAIRZ speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my SQAIRZ, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try SQAIRZ, you'll be a believer too. Go to SQAIRZ.com. Change your shoes, change your game with SQAIRZ. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing SQAIRZ and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new SQAIRZ speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my SQAIRZ, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try SQAIRZ, you'll be a believer too. Go to SQAIRZ.com. Change your shoes, change your game with SQAIRZ. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing SQAIRZ and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new SQAIRZ speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my SQAIRZ, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try SQAIRZ, you'll be a believer too. Go to SQAIRZ.com. Change your shoes, change your game with SQAIRZ. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing SQAIRZ and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new SQAIRZ speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my SQAIRZ, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try SQAIRZ, you'll be a believer too. Go to SQAIRZ.com. Change your shoes, change your game with SQAIRZ. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing SQAIRZ and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new SQAIRZ speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my SQAIRZ, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try SQAIRZ, you'll be a believer too. Go to SQAIRZ.com. Change your shoes, change your game with SQAIRZ. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing SQAIRZ and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new SQAIRZ speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my SQAIRZ, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try SQAIRZ, you'll be a believer too. Go to SQAIRZ.com. Change your shoes, change your game with SQAIRZ. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing SQAIRZ and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new SQAIRZ speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my SQAIRZ, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try SQAIRZ, you'll be a believer too. Go to SQAIRZ.com. Change your shoes, change your game with SQAIRZ. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing SQAIRZ and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new SQAIRZ speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my SQAIRZ, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try SQAIRZ, you'll be a believer too. Go to SQAIRZ.com. Change your shoes, change your game with SQAIRZ. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing squares and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new square speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and...
Good evening, everybody. My name is Bob Winskowitz. I am the founder of SQAIRZ Golf. I'd like to welcome you tonight to our first SQAIRZ Academy. And SQAIRZ Academy is something we plan on having every month. And each month we'll have a guest which will talk about golf, the swing, and in many cases about their career. So tonight, it is fitting that we have Sir Nick Faldo. Sir Nick is one of the 43 events, PGA events, and has six major championships, 3 Masters, 3 Opens. It's with great pleasure I welcome Sir Nick Faldo to SQAIRZ Academy. Hello, Sir
thanks,
Nick.
Bob. How are you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
No problem. No problem. I'm sure the check's in the post.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. We met about a little over a year ago, and an interesting story about how you come to know SQAIRZ. And really, tonight is not necessarily about talking about SQAIRZ, but I've got a lot of questions here, and one of which is, how did you come to know SQAIRZ, and why did you get involved?
Yeah, well, when COVID hit, we were at the beach, a little beach house, and we weren't allowed anywhere, so I've got my own outdoor gym, and I'm doing my exercises. And one of my exercises that my trainer Garth Milne gives me to do is that single leg, a flamingo thing, I call it. You lean forward and back, and I couldn't hold it, so I'm wobbling around everywhere. So I went and grabbed my tennis shoes, which are obviously a little wider, and I could do it. So honestly, I went straight to my phone and I went best stability in a golf shoe. Boom, up comes SQAIRZ. So I called my agent. I said, well, send me a pair. I need a pair of these. I want to try it. He said, well, it's funny that because they've just inquired about you. So the shoes were sent down, and I was like a geek. So I thought, well, I've got to test them. So I put them on for a whole day. Honest. So I did my gym in them, so I could now balance. But I said, wow, I couldn't do 10 of these because I would wobble. I wouldn't make 10. So now suddenly I did 10. And then I wore them around the house. I took the dogs for a walk down the beach. And honestly, I then went, oh, hang on a minute. Well, that's better, because I, like many, would walk and grip with my toes. So sure enough, that would get you. When you do that all day, calves get tight. And I honestly thought, hang on a minute. I'm not gripping with my toes. So that's how it all started. And then we very rapidly, as you know, we communicated very quickly. We struck up a deal in a relationship. We shot off in June, didn't we? Shot our first infomercial.
Yeah.
And wow, so here we are nearly 18 months later. And, it's gone off at a storm because, they genuinely work. I get it all the time, even from my friends. They go, what about these things? I promise you, they're really good. They're doing, we were saying in Britain, it does what it says on the tin, and they're basically doing it. So now we have a bit of fun out of it, but we know that they are great golf shoes.
Well, thank you. So what I'd like to do is we've got a chat going here, and I've got right now probably over 40 questions. So I'm just going to pick a few here. I'm going to start with a question from Jazz. It says, as a senior over 70 years old, how can I reclaim some of my lost distance?
We enduring the blockheads, sex and drugs and rock and roll would be a good start. I'm working on this all the time. I'm doing some new instructional. The bottom line is, hey, we a lot of our yardage is stuck in our hips, so we have to work on it. We've got to look after our bodies. Just look at all the flexibility exercise, for the thoracic spine, your hips, all sorts of things. That is very good. And I'm not as disciplined as I want to be. I'm kicking my butt because I know it makes a difference. And and I'm actually putting together. I've got a new instructional series going to come out soon. And, you know, and all this fitness, I go in my gym and I find something else and I go and test it. So just be creative. You know, and going back to the series, going back to the shoes, they help you because you're getting better support. You know, I gave it to my producer over my CBS, and who's got hip issues and knee issues, and as you know, Bob, therapeutically they help. So, but yeah, if you want to gain, we all want to gain a bit of distance, but it is stuck basically in your lower back and your hips. So if you want to make a bit of effort, the other simple golf tip: so many people are told when you get old to stand open, and when you stand open, i.e., feet left, and well, it's funny, you get stuck. You can't turn as much. So go as shut as you like, not the shoulders. Your shoulders just still square to your half line. But if you shut your feet, well, guess what? Woof, you'll get a couple more inches of turn. Simple as that. So as we get older, it makes more sense that we basically try and keep the dogs quiet. We shut your feet, but not your shoulders, and you'll get a little bit more turn. Something like that.
Got it. I've got a gentleman here that asked a question. Eric, it says, what is the single most beneficial tip you can give an amateur for a more reliable golf swing?
Well, alignment is key. You know, I played hundreds of pro-ams and got quite, you know, I would say to, but they just fired it straight into trees. I'd say, good shot. And the guys said, I said, no, but that's exactly where you're aiming. So be very conscious of that, even from the first ball. It's so funny. You go on the range and you hit, you know, half a dozen wedges or so without thinking. You just say, I'm warming up, but they're all going off in crooked angles. And this fellow, it registers. So right from the very first ball, please just throw a club down, look at a flag. Oh, I want to go at that. Put a club down, at least just line it. Really should be railway tracks, aiming a little left of it. So get yourself pointing. If you keep pointing yourself in the right direction every day, every time you practice, or even when you play, if you go out and play on your own or even with your mates, hey, I need to work on my alignment. I'm going to throw a club down all day, and then put a club down and go, oh, that's where and then I promise you it will feel uncomfortable to start off with because you've either been too left or too much to the right. So that is something you then got to work your way through. Go, wow, that's where I should be aiming. Oh, that means my ball position should be somewhere here rather than there. And that, promise you, that really just changes your whole swing as well. Because if you're crooked right from the go, you're compensating right from the first inch you take the club back.
You know, it's interesting as I see a lot of questions here about balance and stability. And one of the things that you said to me the first time we did some filming, you said you can't find balance during the swing.
Yeah, you need it at the start, don't you? You can't swing. What a lot of people will do, I see this quite a lot, is they take a practice swing and they finish off balance. Right? You know, go whoomp and they go like that. And then they go up to the ball. So again, this fella goes, hang on a minute, what do you want me to do here? So you've got to take a practice swing and go, oh yeah, I stuck the finish. And you go, okay, I can fit. And I can promise you, your calves will be going like this to start off with. But you make and go, okay, I got it. And then you get to address and get comfortable, get quiet, get, you know, alive, but all in one nice position before you go. You cannot be standing there, you know, moving around, not sure. Then you go and then, well, think you're going to find balance and, you know, the right positions to impact. So look at the best players in the world. They spend all this time meticulously setting up to the ball, don't they? Before that's not an accident. You know, the great thing about our game is our fundamentals. Whether you're an absolute beginner or you're the best in the world, you still got to do them. So the best in the world still grind on ball position, alignment, everything. Get set, get ready, and then boof, and then take it away. And great word for taking it away is smooth. Smooth is better than slow, because slow one day is slow, you know, but smooth, the next one can always be smoother. There's no eternity to being smooth. You make a lovely smooth thing, oh, I can make it smoother than it. So get the takeaway smooth and then build up the momentum. That's the way to do it.
Another question here. Well, thank you. I've got another question here from Ronald, and I can relate to this. Ron says, "I'm a 3.4 handicap. I've got the
Yeah.
chipping yips. I've tried everything. I've tried 2 top and 30 instructors. Any idea how I
Yeah.
beat the chipping yips?"
I knew I should have bought a grip. Lens, can you grab a club? Sorry. My assistant, my magnificent, luscious assistant, will grab me a club. Ask me another question. We'll come back to that one.
All right. Let me see here. What are your thoughts on the driver length? Longer shaft
No,
worth it?
actually, I learned something. A great thing about this game. I was doing some testing the other week, and because I've hit so many iron shots and I hit slightly down on it, the technician said, "All the going long won't work for you because you're slightly on the down. If you're on the up, if you consistently can get a driver on the upswing, then maybe go longer. But I'm not a fan. I don't think you need it. I don't think we need to go to 48. Well, we're not. We're back to 46. Gosh, in our day, we were 43 and a half, weren't they? My goodness. So, standards now is, I believe, anything between 45 and 45 and a half. I'm around that as well, even though it's the shaft is so good now. That is the thing. You will gain, do shaft testing. Just find the right length. You will get as much zip that you will ever need without having to go thinking, I need to go 40. We can't go 40. So we're at 46. I think that's absolutely fine now. So, all right, back to it. Hey, so I managed to get a club for you. So here's this finger, right? You take your grip and swap it over. Can you see that? There's your trigger. You got it? Yeah, there's your trigger. Put it over that side. So that means that wakes up the left hand a lot more. And you cannot, we generally yip it with our right hand. We flick it. We try to help it. So if you swap that over, then you become all left-handed. Obviously, it makes sense to lead with the left hand because you can drag a club through grass with your left hand. You can't push it through in a straight line with your right hand. So simply try that. Just start with very tiny little chip shots. I do this a lot, and I even go up. Sometimes I can hit balls like this, maybe up 7-iron or something. But that's a cool little drill because we've got dozens of muscles, hundreds of muscles, little golf muscles, as I call them. And by just doing that, they suddenly come alive. You only have to hit a dozen chips, and you'll suddenly think, my arm aches a bit. Well, yeah, because all these left arm muscles have been switched off. You've been trying to help it with the right hand. So simply just stick it over like that. Flip your index finger over the top. Try that. I promise you. Then you've got to work your shoulders more, and it will stop you flipping it.
I've got a similar question on putting. A gentleman here's got the yips on putting, and it says here, any tips for putting when you're struggling to get the stroke smooth under pressure? And then in that same conversation, I have another gentleman here asking a question in putting about moving your head and following the putter head into the ball and then to the hole.
Yeah. Well,
is that...
Okay, the first one, the claw, again, a right hand gets alive. I use the claw now, or modified, whatever it might be, because funny, on long ones, I feel I need to give it a bit of help. So I actually kind of yip the long ones. So I've been experimenting. I've got where I'm going to do it from. So you've got your pencil grip like so, or even I was just modifying that back to the saw grip. I guess Mark O'Meara started the saw with almost his hand straight across. And then simple little tips, where you look. Hey, if you really are struggling and you're looking at the ball and you panic about how you're hitting the ball, don't look at the ball. Look at your thumb. I'm a big advocate of that. You've heard me talk about that dozens of times. If you're normal, watch your thumbnail go backwards and forwards. Because you can say, if I said you move your thumbnail back 2 inches back, 2 inches through, you say, Faldo, of course I can do that. 2, 2. Put it on the club and do that. 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. Put your concentration somewhere else. The other important thing is the bigger muscles. Bigger muscles, the biggest ones are, of course, in your shoulder when you're putting. You keep your body quiet and still, especially from belt line down. Keep that right solid, and then just learn to rock your shoulders. So put all your attention on your shoulders, and you can experiment. Front of your shoulders, your traps. You try it, but just put your attention in other places and do what I call as my mechanical drills. Get yourself a chalk line or a bit of string line to practice on, and just start to see the putter moving back and through nicely. And then tempo is very important. It's as simple as 1, 2. The science is basically if you go back at 1 mile an hour, go through at 2 miles an hour. That will do you. It's 1.6 and 2 point something, but take it back at 1 mile an hour, go through it 2. So you always have that little bit of acceleration, not a whack, just a 1, 2. It doesn't matter whether it's this long a putt or it's a 40-footer. It's still the 1, 2. Obviously, your swing gets longer. So that will be rapid fire. That will work. Especially just the great thing, experiment with grips to take the right hand out of it as much as possible.
Got it. I've got a question here from let me see, from Peter. It says, how do you apportion your practice time between putting, short game, irons?
Well, it's fun
and
to
woods?
do a loop. I mean, if you're going to go down and practice, I like to. Fortunately, if you're in Florida, you're going to get hot. You start beating balls, you're sweating. So I go and putt first because I don't want to cool down and tighten up. So I start with putting and then mess around and have a little play at that for whatever. Just as I said, I do a little bit of drill work, check the stroke. I do a few distance things. You've got some big breaking putts, a little bit of everything. We've got chipping greens, and you don't have, if your course doesn't have chipping greens, just chipping balls to a target, even if it's putting your practice bag out there and putting balls out at every yard for whatever, from 1 yard to 40 yards, learning to land the ball on your desired spot is very important. That's how you really improve your chipping and pitching. If you can land the ball where you intend, you're going to learn a lot about your strike and that. So do a bit of that, mess around in the bunker, whack a few bunker shots. Then you've kind of warmed your hands and arms up a little bit, and then head to the range. And, so I'm a big fan. I believe start with an 8 or 9 iron. Don't start with your wedges. Because, wedges have all got sharp edges, haven't they? And you hit a couple thin, a couple fat, and you're in a panic mode, aren't you? Especially when you play. Nothing worse. Nothing hit. You play in the Pro-Am, the pro's just down there, and you hit one thin, one fat, and you're off. I say, get your 9 iron. If you have to, key it up. Give it, clip a couple away. So you go, oh, that's nice. Got it out in the middle. Then go through the bag. Don't get too carried. Depending if it's a practice session, obviously you can work out. Well, I like to do a bit of everything. Then come back to your wedges. When you're warmed up and you're striking it well, then you'll clip a couple of nice wedges and go, because they're all about distance control, striking. Then you're ready. I mean, that's kind of, then you've done a little bit of everything. And so that, I can do all that, hour and a half. And I've done, and I've kind of I've done enough. That's perfect.
All right. I've got a couple of questions here, one from Tom and one from Morris about the stance. And I'll kind of try to aggregate both of them together. It says, does Sir Nick like moving your right foot back? And if so, how much? Also, feet, shoes under hips or under shoulders, and how wide?
No, yeah. We'll start with, hey, there's all sorts of tests you can do for how wide, because everybody says shoulder width apart, but no, if you look at martial arts or anything like that, they say find your balance. So jump up and down and try it. If you put your ankles together and move about, you don't have as much. Somewhere you've got more strength. There actually is a formula. Now you mention it. They do 1 foot length. Oh yeah, I got this off Dr. Craig Francis. I should demonstrate with a pair of SQAIRZ or two. All right. So here, this apparently, so you take 1 length that way, and I've got one of Lady Faldo, and then you do what? Obviously, another men's shoe that. So there's a distance, isn't there, from one that way and one width that way. So that's a men's shoe. So what's that? So let's call it 12, and the width is 3.5, 15.5. Call it 16. That kind of rings a bell. 16 inches. So that's the distance on the inside. So between your feet, for me, something around 16 inches. So you can test that and see how strong you are, because you want balance, don't you? So you can go on a balance board and kind of check. Now I think that feels great. Go narrow and think, wow, that's hard work. Go a bit wide. Hey, experiment. That's not in stone. That's just an idea, a suggestion. I'm a strong believer that you're better to have your weight closer to the balls of your feet rather than your heels. Definitely your toes you can't, because you're going to fall over. You're going to go, because then you'll be gripping. You don't want that. So you actually want to curl your toes up, right? And then lean forward so the weight's on the balls of your feet. Now it engages your calves and your quads. Then you're like a goalie. Somebody's about to kick at you. You're ready for it. You're braced for it. So you want that for you. You want to stand there like a jellyfish. There's nothing. There's no pressure. So put a bit of pressure in the ground. Then you've got, so that forms that, even though I'm standing straight up, I've got that. Then you bend from your belt line, not from rolling your back, and let your arms hang. That's basically how you build your posture. So try those couple of tricks. The feet thing is funny. It works. Hit some balls. I've just thought I haven't done that. I'm going to make a note of that. Hit some balls normally without thinking of it, and see if you can measure where they've gone somehow. And then try that 1 foot and 1 width of a foot as your middle distance between your feet, and then hit some more and report in. I'm going to write that.
That's very.
So I'm going to.
You know, I noticed that before when you stand up to hit a shot, Sir Nick, you have a tendency, when a lot of people talk about curling the toes. When you say curling the toes up, you mean upwards, not curling them downwards. Right? And I watch you. Yeah, right.
I did this moons ago. I won the world match play. I don't know, late 80s or something, with my toes curled up. Because it made my leg, I'm tall, so I've got a good leg action anyway, and so it slowed my legs, stopped me from leaping at it just a little bit. Got me to unwind. So if you're somebody who's got a lot of leg action, lift your toes up basically, and then just get your fine, and then swing. It will get you down a little bit more rather than legs are gone and the arms are late. My God.
Right. You know, it's interesting. I was reading something about that. And as we evolve from primates, and you talk about how when we are off balance, so when we feel like we're being pushed over, naturally we want to angle our toes down to grip. And in the golf swing, as you told me, you said that's probably one of the worst things you can ever do is grip downwards with your toes. It just stresses all the way up through your body. And that's where you find that squares versus a rounded toe shoe where it angles it in. As it angles it in and you put a lot of pressure on your feet, your toes want to naturally curl downwards. And you were telling me that is probably one of the worst things you can do in the golf swing.
You've measured it, haven't you? If your feet toes get crushed and you go down, you lose power. So if they're sitting there relaxed but balanced, they're more effective, more powerful, more effective. It's all wacky kinesiology, what do they call that?
Yeah, I've got a question here. It says, best drill to cover the ball with your chest. Help stop the golfer hanging back and flipping with the hands.
Go on the front of the tee. You know, we always got a downslope on the practice range, the front of a tee, isn't there? And just take your A time, no more for starters. Well, that's fine. And hit some balls off a really steep downslope. I mean, so you're like that. Because if you go at it with your arms, you'll hit it this far fat. And it teaches you, wow, how do you hang on to the club, i.e. keep the club head off the ground? I mean, hang on to the angle. Right? And you've got to use your chest, and it teaches you instantly how to post and pivot over your left leg and your left hip. Because if you don't do that, you fall over or you snap something. so you go whoosh like that. You can't go forward. You've got to learn to unwind, hang on to the angle, then deliver the club on the downslope and chase after it. It's a fantastic. Only do half. If you haven't done that before, seriously, do half a dozen, and then go back and hit a couple of balls and go, okay, it's working. Do another half a dozen. But very first goes, no more than 20 of those, because I promise you that will wake up some obliques, stuff in your back that hasn't been woken up for yonks, and you'll hurt yourself. So go really easy. Get the feeling of, soak up the feeling quickly, and then try and copy it on a flat lie.
Great. I've got a question here. It's which was one of your best wins? Which was, in your mind, which is the best win that you ever had?
Well, they're all special, but I nearly lost Muirfield 92. I was leading by 4. I'm just world number 1 favorite, blah blah blah, and I'm leading, and off I go, and I frittered it all away, and by the 15th tee, I'm 2 back, and that's when I had that good talk to myself. Well, it was great. I used to just forget everything, forget the whole week. You've got 4 holes to play now. They better be the best holes you've ever played. And so I saw I saw very close what it would have felt to really lose a major. I'm fortunate. I've lost majors, but I don't carry any scars for my losses. I had chances. I didn't play well enough or did something wrong. But fortunately, I haven't really screwed up where I'm scarred by it. And so I went to that edge of, wow, I've really screwed this up, and managed to resurrect it. Those last 4 holes, played the shots I hit, my 5-iron and the 4-iron on 17 and the 3-iron on 18, and the 3 great best iron shots ever hit with those particular clubs. So that was very special. But obviously winning it, all of them are special. But that one was, if you're asking for something like that, that one was put me to the limit. I saw what the limit, the other side, I saw the knife edge of losing, and I managed to turn it around. So very grateful for that.
All right. Sir Nick, how critical is ending up on my right toe for a right-handed golfer with these new shoes?
I call it face the target. I mean, people think the goal is hitting the golf ball. The goal of a golf swing is to finish facing your target, complete the golf swing. You collect the golf ball on the way, yeah? And that's why when you clear, amateurs throw their hips at it, and their hips are still pointing to the right of the target. Where when you clear, you get all the way on your toe, you are now face. So I say face the target. I mean, look at it squarely, chest and belts, chest and eyes, look at, and then your right toe. So you get your right knee to kiss your left knee, as easy as that. Right knee, get up on your toe, and you're already there. You're already facing the target. So that's the important thing. Finish your follow through. I mean, that's the most important thing in this game.
Okay. What is the number 1 putting flaw you see in amateurs?
Wow. Back to alignment. But what they do is they never give it enough break, and so you look at a big right to left putt, and they think, and the caddy might say it's right edge, sir, and I'm standing there thinking you need 2 feet. So subconsciously you go, because this is very clever, you aim in and you go, this says that ain't enough, mate, without you realizing it, and you go and you block it, and it goes off 2 feet, and if it goes in, you think, see, spot on, good read, right? But little do you know you adapted, because this fella's very clever. And then you do the same going the other way. You got a big left to right, and you aim left edge, and it's 3, and you go whoosh over the top, and woof, and it's a good putt. So if you get good results, you think you're putting well, but then you get another day when, oh my goodness, that all goes terribly wrong. You're pushing putts, coming over putts, And so that's why doing some simple drills with rulers, chalk lines to find out, wow, this is straight. Wow, that is a straight putt. Just learn to hit a putt straight for 15 feet. Even, yeah, just do that. And then, as you know, if you can do that square, as you know that you've heard the saying, every putt is straight. People go, no, they're not. You go, all you can control is a square hit, sends the ball straight to your target, and then obviously the break, the slope, gravity takes over. So here's another fabulous thing from the science of putting is if you can aim correctly, so just put a tee peg down, start with 3 feet. If you can aim at that tee peg, and it doesn't matter if your stroke goes off in a figure of 8, but if you come back to square and you're doing fine. After all the science that we now know, if you can start aiming, we call it square, return to square, you're doing really well. Obviously, if you can put it on a path, you're going to take it up a notch again. But please work on that. Learn to aim square at something, to start really short. Doesn't mean you're whatever. We all do it. You've watched The Greatest, and what Phil Mickelson's saying, he does a 3-foot drill and he has to hole 100 of them. So it's so important that you aim everything, because if your shoulders get out of the line, you compensate. So you don't want to practice half an hour compensating. So do everything right, square, pop it forward, hit the tee peg. And if you can do that, you're on your way to being a decent putter.
So I've got a question here. It says, does Jim Nance have game?
Yeah, lucky. He plays at Cypress Point. My God. So yeah, he loves it. He's got the 7th hole, a mini version of the 7th hole in his back garden and his back driveway. No, he loves his golf, and he plays at all the finest clubs in America. Lucky bugger. Yeah.
Yeah. How many shots do you have to give him?
Quite a few, probably. Yeah, I haven't played with actually just the two of us for moons, so hopefully we will have to do something about that. Yeah. Okay.
All right. So when you changed your swing with Ledbetter, what was the motivating fact behind that? Was it your idea?
No, it's a little fella that sits on your shoulder, you know. he was in my ear going, "Oi, son," he says, "you're not good enough." And I went, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, you haven't got it, mate." Honestly, seriously. That was a little voice. He said, "You ain't got it, mate." So, because the old flight at the golf course, I was a dragger, drag it back, big leg. That's what I was taught, big leg action, big arm action, all that sort of thing. So you remember how the ball, youngsters won't remember, the old ball used to fly low and used to climb, right? And so you got murdered in the wind. You just got, so you needed to send it out with some penetration, like Tom Watson could do in those days. So that was what the start was. So I talked with Led, and he was one of the guys who talked about this rotation and what have you, and how we're going to have to learn to rotate the arms differently, because my arms went back that way. It kind of dragged or sucked back, and then I wanted this, which meant I then got to have more of this and different through the impact, all sorts of things. So that was the main idea of it, to get better, way more consistent ball strike, of penetration, the trajectory. And, I worked on it hard enough. I got some nice compliments from some great people. Just reminded me, Arnold Palmer. Never seen somebody send it on the same trajectory so consistently. So that's a nice compliment. I remember just standing there thinking of that. So that's really the gist of it. So I had some ball flight to deal with the good old, consistency. You're looking for consistency. See, as professionals, especially in that era, the most important thing was distance control. You want to know your numbers. If you hit your 7-iron 165 or whatever, you want to know how to make it go 168, and you want to know how to make it go 163. And that's a little bit of difference, and that's what we worked on. It wasn't like, I can hit it 190. No, I've got a 5-iron for that. That was what I was taught. Ian Connolly said, if you want to hit it further, guess what? You've got another club in the bag. And that's why we were taught, that's why we were taught with tempo. Do the same thing. And that really paid off, because that's one of the disciplines you need for Augusta. Augusta, you have to, I mean, seriously, it's not an exaggeration to say you have plus or minus 1 yard to work with. When you're trying to land on a pin over a ridge, they give you 6 feet. Well, if you want to land it there, it's got to land 1 yard short or 1 yard past. And if you want to get close. And so that is, that's the mindset from a lot of work that, led me to winning those Masters.
Okay, during your day, who was the greatest trash talker on the course?
No, we were okay, gosh, not really. No, it was very much, let the clubs do the talking. Somebody said something, you're like, don't like him, I'm going to beat him. So it was like, it was more, you got on with it. Everybody's very different. Nobody wanted to show their cards. I had to battle Sevi and obviously Langer and Woozy in Europe. And, it comes, if you played with the greats, if you went and played with Jack, I mean, you were like this, you didn't say a word. You spoke when you were spoken to. So I did my thing. I didn't, just went and played,
Got it. I got a question here. I get a lot of questions here about the shoes and this, and I'm trying to stay away from them because this is really about, the swing and you and the people asking questions. But I've got one here. It says, Nick, you praised the square shoes. What about them helps you leverage the ground, and why is that an advantage?
Well, you're the science man, but I'm a heavy guy, so I need support. And so heel support's really good for me. And as we say, if you can twist it, chuck it. And so these just move enough. They got the right amount. So that's really important. I've had shoes where I've been like wood and you can't bend them. And you've had other ones where it's soft as a marshmallow. So that's the key thing. And stay in shape as well. So many golf shoes, as you know, well, if you want, they really change shape. As you swing more, they get distorted, don't they? And these important things, these are done half a dozen rounds or so. So they're still in the right, everything's still in the right place. And that's, for me, very important. You don't want to be breaking shoes in. Those days are gone. God, you remember that when you had to break shoes in and risk getting blisters on, and so that doesn't happen. These are good and solid. So that's really the most important thing for me. You need the right amount of flex when you walk. You don't want too much, too little, so it stretches your calves out. So
right. I have a shoe here when we talk about this all the time. You can twist it.
Well, that's
toss it.
Yeah, if you went and played in bare feet, you would be shattered, wouldn't you? You'd be aching if you walked and played. So that kind of makes sense. If they need some kind of support, stability, you want the right amount, not too much. Because moons ago, I had a shoe company that, oh my God, they were like planks of wood. They would not give. And so my calves were just red hot at the end of the day. So, and that's and then we've proven with science that a little bit more stability in your swing, you'll strike the ball better, because the bottom line is, as we now know with science, if you're half an inch off center, there's your 8 to 10 yards of lost distance. So if you just through better stability, just a little, as we say, a little better address, a little better on the takeaway, a little better down, a little better impact, a little better balance, and you hit it a quarter of an inch offline, well, there's 4 yards better. So instead of being in the front right bunker, boom, you scraped it on the green. That's worth thinking about. I mean, and we know that actually it's factual. So that's when the claims of saying they go further, yes, it'll go further because you strike it better. So that's why you get, and you get a little bit more, and your feet work a little better, which means your body works. So when you button it, then it does go. You put all of that together. That's why saying you're on balance, you've got stability, you'll get a bit more zip, better strike, because you're in the same place from start to finish to impact. And that's why you can button it a bit better. Simple as that.
Right. I've got a question here from Henry. Henry says, how do you handle nerves in a match?
Well, nerves, remember, nerves are important. I mean, people say, oh, it drives me up the wall. Even seasoned analysts go, oh, he's always nervous. Roger Federer's nervous. Of course, Roger Federer's nervous. Blame it out, because it's passion, okay, and it's adrenaline. So there's two types of nerves. One's adrenaline, when you're ready, you're not sure what's going to, especially in golf, we don't know what's going to happen in the day. There's a bit of apprehension, even though when you're playing great, you still got to steer your way around 18 holes. So off you go, and then you get into it. The other nerves is when you stand on the first tee and go, out of bounds left, pond on the right. And I've done that as well. So that's when you're going. So when your abilities, or rather, when your expectations are greater than your abilities, then that's nerves, isn't it? When you look down the fairway and go, oh, I don't know how to hit this fairway, that's when you need to go and practice, to be better. So you've got to have, we have nerves in the adrenaline sense, because you want that, because it means so much, and you've got something riding on the line, and you've got to pull off a shot. But when you know what you're doing and how to do it, because you've rehearsed it thousands of times, then you stand a pretty good chance of doing it. That's all you do. You practice like crazy, test yourself on the range. You go and play tournament golf, you get a bigger test. If you pass. If you fail, you learn. You go, why did that happen? I felt this, I did that. Then you go back and practice again with that knowledge. And you come back. And then next time that situation arises, you go, okay. It's physical, might be just breathing, thinking, might be a bad decision. Or it might be something in your swing doesn't happen. You're a little quick because of tension or whatever. So there's another great line. There's an answer to everything. Everything happens for a reason. There's a reason why things happen. So you got to find the reason.
All right, I've got a question here. It's, do you have any plans of playing any senior events?
Not
senior
really. I got my next major coming up, which is the father and son. Here, Roy Matthews coming over, so we're going to gear up for that. No, I got.
Is that the PNC?
Father and son. Yep. I think about it. I'd love to do it, but I never get enough time. I've even got. I was thinking about a British senior, but I've got television all my television season, and then that means my practice disappears. And I'm not competitive. I need to have competitive practice. I mean, the fantastic Mr. Langer and all those guys, they're playing competitive golf literally every day. I mean, I haven't done so. It frustrates me, because some days I go out and I hit it really good, and I think, oh, I should be playing, and then. All right, good decision. So I'm caught between that. I mean, I would still love to be able to just do it one more time. I'll find somewhere just to test me, as long as I can get a bit of a build up. Yeah.
All right. I've got a gentleman here. It says, my standard shot is a straight baby fade throughout the bag. I'm working to add a draw, but feel my left hand grip pressure prevents me from doing this. Any grip pressure tips?
Yeah. The grip with these three fingers of the left hand, that is important. So if you're doing nicely with your little fade, again, where you start the ball is very important. So ridiculously simple drill is to maybe off a tee peg, so you're always in the same spot, but you can either put a couple of balls like 2 paces or 3 paces in front of you, so it covers your target. So if you're on the range or on the golf course, You know, the left ball is on the left side of the green and the right ball is on the right side of the green. Okay, so your ball's here, you got two balls up and then you touch. So when you stand back and think, oh, here's my fade, I hit it over the left ball, that feels great. That's where you can do it. Then you think, I want to draw it, which means it's got to start over the right ball and work back, hasn't it? A true draw. And so when you line it up and then come and stand from this angle, because the ball is here, that right ball to me, because I love fade, that right ball is pointing 20, 30 yards to the right of the green. So you think, that's not right. So you come back and double check it, because it's then you'll believe it. You go, that is right. That ball is 15 feet right of the flag. I want to start it just right. And then you come back again and start to trust it. So again, it's back to alignment, and that will help you with ball position, that sort of thing. You make life easy for yourself. When you're doing that, move the ball back in your stance, because then you'll get it more on the in to out, just a little bit. So that could be, if you're hitting it nice with a little fade, then that might be all you need. It's just changing starting line of the ball. And obviously you are spinning the ball now counterclockwise. So think of that as well. How do I make this ball spin? If your fade, the ball is spinning clockwise, that's easy to go across it to make it spin. And then you think, I've got to spin it that way. So it makes you think, well, that club head's got to be coming a little in, a little out to produce that. So that's a couple of little things to try.
Okay, I've got a comment from a junior golfer. It says, Sir Nick, what is your advice on maintaining confidence in a competitive round for a junior golfer?
Yeah.
And he's 12. Yeah. They're 12 years old.
Yeah, the bottom line is, where is your mind? Really simply, you're playing well, and then suddenly you're on the 12th, 14th hole, you're going nicely, having a really good day, and then you suddenly go, oh, I don't like the 17th hole. Oh, I hate that pond there. So where's your mind? Right, so now you're playing the 13th, and your mind's at the 17th. You're thinking about that, and then you suddenly hit a bad shot. Oh, God, and off you go. So very simple. I used to ask myself a simple question: what do I want? What do I want? Well, if you stand and look at the hole, stand on the tee, what do I want? Well, I'd love to hit it down the fairway and knock it on the green, right at the pin, in the hole. Well, what have I just seen? Really good stuff. Yeah. Highly unlikely. If you talk to yourself like that, obviously, if you've had a bad hole, you go, what do I want? And you go, well, I don't want to slice it in the trees like I did last. And what do you see? If I say don't slice it in the trees, what do you see? Trees. If I say don't top it in the pond, what do you see? You see a pond. If I say don't think of a strawberry, whoops, a bloody strawberry appeared. Yeah, so you have to put the right picture in your mind. So if you stand and go, I want this, I want it to go there. And you have to do this with this game. You have to wear that out, because this game is going the other way at you all the time. Yeah. And so you may not do it. At least you go into each shot with the right intention. That's the most important thing. Stand up and go, I want it down there. Well, how am I going to do it? So you go, oh, this one, I need a bit of this or a bit of that to make that work. Okay, may work, may not. But then you play. But look where you are. I'm on the 14th hole. I'm not at 17. I'm not back at the 6th where I doubled it. Yeah. So that, I think, for kids is a good one. And remember to eat, kids. I get it a lot. Oh, 6 under par, and I bogeyed the last 4. What did you eat? No, nothing. What did you drink? Nothing. So seriously, you got to fuel yourself up. We know the science. It's not a guess anymore. You know, you go, what, and you can experiment. Oh, I know, I've got these energy bars. I love these. You know, and you get in a nice routine. You have one on the first tee, one on the 6th, one on the 12th, 13th. You know, you keep your energy up. You drink. We now know you don't guzzle down a pint of water. You know, you have a little sip every so often, and you keep yourself. So all of that, we know the science, and it makes a difference. So simple as that. I think those little things, fuel yourself up and keep your mind right in the now time. What do I want? Simple as that.
Got it. I've got a question here from Rick. It says, on the downswing, do you pull down with the front arm or push down with the back arm, or both?
Well, generally,
on the downswing.
Yeah, it's a chain reaction. Again, you can experiment, which is fun to do, because you know it starts from the ground up. So when you make your backswing, you want to start the chain reaction. So I call it squashing the bug. I'm still doing that now. I suddenly thought of that the other day. There's a bug on your left heel. Even if you don't lift your heel up, you go and give it a push. Just by giving it that little push, your left heel moves. Sorry, your left knee will move, and you're Christ, panicking. I've only got 10 minutes to go. I will survive. Wash the bug, pulls, starts a chain reaction. Pulls the knee, pulls the hip. Really important, get the hips out of the way. Get that left pocket out of going backwards. Get that out of the way. You do all of that. That starts it down. Sometimes, and again, we're all built differently. I'm guessing, but if you're doing it, but some people will do that too much, then the arms are late. So that's again, you've got to learn to time this. How much body and how much arm. So yes, if the arms are not coming down quick enough, a great simple one is send the butt of the club towards your right foot. So top of the backswing, and I used to just go just for that much. That is now heading towards my right boot. And I used to say to myself, boot, boom, you get up there and go boot. So I've got an image that's heading to my boot, and that's it. That started the transition, because I always had a good leg and body motion, so I could think about these things. I thought a lot about my shoulders because the body works well. But if your body's not working well, then you've got to get your body to work well. You've got to get your hips to turn a bit more. Yeah. So experiment with that. And imagery is very good. A couple of swings I loved on tour, the Aussies. Jason Day, in his day, had really fast belly, didn't he? Really went quickly. And so his arms arrived a split second late, and he had hit a big fade, intentional fade, just a little to the right. Where Adam Scott has really fast arms, and he would hit it a little left. So if you're somebody who can visualize things like that, so basically, if you want the ball to go to the right, you want your belly moving faster in your arms. And if you want the ball to go a little left, you want your arms to go a little faster than your belly. Simple formula, and that one definitely works.
All right, we'll take a couple more. I've got one here from Dave, and I'm going to ask this on behalf of Dave and myself. I've been pulling the ball. I've been pull hooking every club from time to time. Any drills to get rid of this horrible problem?
Pull hooking is over the top, smothering it. Yeah, which means top half, you're not activating your knees and your hips enough. So you think you're turning, but there's no resistance down there. So it's almost back to the start when we talked 3 hours ago, wasn't it, when I started this? Back to your posture. Get your legs alive. If you're standing like a jellyfish, and you go, and because you're stronger, you've used your top half more in your life, don't you? So that just goes woof, and these don't do anything. So that's when you've got to activate your knees, your quads, and everything, so that when you turn, that's back to what we were talking about, the sequence, the bug, the knee, the pocket, the hips, or whatever, and then the top half. If you just go top half all day, you'll get it going. Look where the club's going, left. Club face is pointing out, and it goes left all day. And your cure is you go like that, and it goes even, get me? So it's stability, learning to use your core way more. So some cool drills is basically taking your arms out of action and just learning to move your core as much as possible, especially not on the range, in your gym, in the garage, wherever. Get your core moving as much as possible. Like if this is doing this, that's a great golf swing. That's a great golf motion. There's your powerhouse. Then the arms follow. You can move your arms when the body doesn't move, but when the body moves, get me? Your arms cannot control your body, because that's, get me? But the other way around, your body controls your arms. Right. Simple as that. If your body works well, the arms will follow. That's so important. There's your powerhouse.
All right. I've got one more question before we close this up. In terms of putting, how do you gauge the distance of a putt?
Yeah. I have a little formula now, because when you don't play a lot, you look at a putt 30 feet long and you look, and it's a guess, isn't it? So you go, how hard do I hit this? Don't know. It's a guess. So if you do it right, you guessed well. Then you could even say that was luck. If you're guessing, it was luck. So what have you learned from it? You haven't stored anything up. So I love having a very simple formula, is how far, like I was talking about, how far back does my right thumb go back and through? So I was doing this, I was giving my daughter a putting lesson yesterday. And we took a ruler out there, and thought, because I have a little formula where basically go on the putting green, put some balls down, and move your thumb back what you think is 2 inches back, 2 inches through, right? Do that. And just look down and think that's 2, 2, that at the same tempo, and the ball will go a certain distance. Let's just say it goes 10 feet, going 2, 2. Yeah? So obviously if you go 3, 3, goes a bit further, 4, 4, get me? It will go further, further, further. So you start to remember this, and then you start to get a little formula where you pace this out and go, if I consistently go 2, 2 at a great tempo, it's always going. So for me, my 2, 2, and it's not 2 inches back, it's my 2, okay? Don't get your mates to say, that's not 2 inches, It's your 2, my 2. So when I go 2, 2 on a normal green, it will go 15 feet for me, okay? So then I put golf balls out across the green back to a hole. I start at 5 yards as my 2, and then every 2 paces, I put a ball down, and I keep going out. So I go back and I do from close up, I do my 2 2s. That gets me to the hole. Next ball back, 2 6. Here's a 3 3. Good length. Next one's 4 4. Get me? So I then clock this as a distance. So if I'm starting at 5 as my 2s, when I get on the green, I've suddenly got 13-yard putt. So the first 5 is the 2, 7 is 3, 9 is 4, 5 is 11, 6 is 13. There's my 13-yard putt. Okay, so if it's uphill, I might add another one. I might say, I might need 14. Obviously, if it's downhill, I might only need 10. Might need a couple. Might take a couple off. Again, that's for you to. Generally, downhill you can take 2 off, because it keeps going. So that's how I get my formula. So when I get on the green, I have a little formula. So I pace it out, and I go da-da-da-da-da, walk up again. I go 7 7. So I come back to the ball and I go 7 7, and boof, and off I go. Now it's either right, and so that all my little calculations are validated, or if it's wrong, well, I learned. But at least I went into the shot with some intention rather than, I haven't got a clue. I'll just give it a bit of this. How can you get any memory from, I just give it a guess? Get me? That's so when I go anywhere, I do it for the kids in my Faldo series, I'll walk a putt out across the green, 24 yards, and come back and say, that's a 12 12. And they go, what? And I go, 12 12, and the thing will go up, boof, like this. And that's one, because remember, I only get one go. So another important thing is only have one go at it. Because it's so easy to have 3 balls down and go, the first one's long, and then you get the feel. That's not learning feel. On golf course, we get one go. So do that around the putting green. Just do all your distance work with one ball at a time from a different spot. Same as chipping. You go chipping, hopefully you've got 3, 4, 5, 6 pins on a green, one ball to each one. Then you learn touch, because you go, you see it, you clip it, it lands, releases. That was good. Move it to the next one. Go around that way, go back. See that you'll learn way more than going 6 to that one, 6 to that one. Yeah, go 1 1 1 1 1 everywhere, and then you store up visually. That looks like that. That should feel like that. Better.
What a great tip. I mean, that's probably one of the best putting tips I've ever heard in terms of distance.
I wish I started with that. I could have gone after 5.
I'm sure there's a martini in your future for that. But
a Vespa, dear boy. It's Bond season, so we're going to have a Vespa.
A Vesper, okay.
Two of
Well,
them
listen,
done.
it is now
Yeah.
7 p.m. and I'd like to personally thank you, Sir Nick, for taking some time on a Friday evening for everybody. We've had about 2,500 people on tonight, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
And it was a pleasure talking with you. And as always, I appreciate all that you do
Yeah,
for
that got
us.
me thinking. I enjoyed it. Thanks. It's so fun. It's the greatest thing about this game is it reminded me of some things. So I've got a few things to work on for tomorrow for a bit of fun. That's the beauty of this game. You learn, even I've been out there 50 years now, and I still learn something each day. Thank you, golf.
All right. And for everybody listening still here, please visit squares.com. We're having a great holiday promotion, pre-Black Friday promotion, and we've got one coming up next week as well. So please visit squares.com. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great night.
All right. Cheers.
Thanks,
all.
Sir Nick.
Thank you all.
Take care. Thank you.
Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing squares and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new square speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my squares, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try squares, you'll be a believer too. Go to squares.com. Change your shoes, change your game with squares. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing squares and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new square speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my squares, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try squares, you'll be a believer too. Go to squares.com. Change your shoes, change your game with squares. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing squares and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new square speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my squares, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try squares, you'll be a believer too. Go to squares.com. Change your shoes, change your game with squares. The distance and comfort golf shoe. Hi there, Sir Nick here. Tens of thousands of golfers are wearing squares and loving the added distance they're getting. But I'm hearing, Faldo, you didn't tell me how comfortable the new square speeds are. With speeds, you get more distance and more comfort. Once I put on my squares, I've never worn another golf shoe. I believe once you try squares, you'll be a believer too. Go to squares.com. Change your shoes, change your game with squares. The distance and comfort golf shoe.